This is a special primetime edition. Have Faith, Let It Begin, and Endless Hope Inc. presents a new series entitled Personal Testimonies. Here is your host, Angel Santana, and special co-host, Clinton Knapp.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition, a collab edition of Have Faith, Let It Begin. Well, today we are breaking ground. We're doing something totally different. I got a chance to speak with who you're about to meet, a gentleman. I'm not even going to say his name yet, because we're going to give him a formal introduction. But I got to speak with somebody who truly has inspired me as an individual. And for all of our listeners, we have been praying for him and his family. He is not a secret guest. He's been on the show before. Let me take you back. We had an episode called Endless Hope. And we had an individual on here by the name of Clinton. Clinton will tell you all about his story and his journey. I suggest that if you haven't listened to that episode, you need to go back, because what you're about to embark on is a brand new primetime special that is now going to be a collab between Endless Hope Inc., which established in 2023. They're fueling hope one life at a time. And now we are helping them out here at Have Faith, Let It Begin, because now they have a platform. Welcome to the primetime edition. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Clinton. Clinton, welcome back, my friend.
Well, hi, how are you? It's good to be back.
Hey, I'm telling you, we got together. Let's give him a little peek behind the curtain before we get started. We got together after that first episode. We knew there was something going on. We knew that there was a fire. And, you know, we got together, we joined together, and we started thinking about how can we get this message, your story, out to the public, out to those that are in need. So if you're really going to run this whole chapter, these episodes, I'm just going to keep you in line and keep us in the motion. But I want to, first of all, just tell you that I'm very grateful and I'm honored that you are sharing this with us. And more importantly, I want you to have fun and teach everyone exactly what you've gone through. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Have Faith, Let It Begin family to the newest addition, and that is Clinton. Clinton, welcome. And I understand that today's episode is called The Beginning. Clinton, who are you?
Yes, definitely. My name is Clinton Knapp, as you've heard before. I'm an individual who lived life and didn't realize how short life could be and all that it entailed until one day my life was changed. To take you back and give you a little bit of history, because you kind of, a lot of you, like Angel has said, you've already heard a little bit of my story, but I want to give you the full story so you can completely understand where Endless Hope came from. 15 years ago, I was having trouble sleeping one night. I figured it was anxiety in anticipation for a new job that I was going to embark on as a second job, because I had a new son at home who was only just a few months old and a wife, and we were young, and I wanted to make sure that I gave him everything that I didn't have as a kid. So I was having trouble sleeping, and I just, again, I thought it was anxiety, and then finally I fell asleep. The next time I woke, I got up and I was like, okay, it's time to get this day started. I managed to do everything that I needed to, and spend some time with my son and my wife before heading out the door to my orientation. Uh, I went to orientation. It was short. It was a quick 4 hour day. Uh, Beautiful. Everything was fine. It was after that I was on my way to get some lunch before heading to my shift at my actual job, where at the time I was a security officer at J.C. Penney's in the Galleria Mall in Middletown, New York. Um, I was starting to feel a little under the weather. I was having some shortness of breath. My throat was getting itchy. I didn't know quite what was going on, but I just knew I felt strange. At that point, I was in contact with my wife, and she worked at the hospital in Goshen, Arden Hill at the time. And she had advised me, oh, maybe I should go there and just stop in the ER real quick, get checked out. So, a little reluctant, but happy wife, happy life, right? So I drove on over there. I went in, and it was at that point the triage nurse sat me down. She started to blood pressure and heart rate and oxygen levels, and she looked at me and she was like, "You don't feel that?" And I was like, "Feel what?" She was like, "Your heart rate is like 180 beats a minute." She's like, "You should feel like your heart is about to jump out your chest." And I just looked at her like she was crazy. Like she had three heads because I didn't feel anything. I mean, again, like I said, an itchy throat, maybe. So it was at that point they rushed me into the back. When I got into the back, they started to hook me up to all types of machines. So I had wires everywhere. They started an IV, stuff like that. Doctors came over, poking and prodding, tons of blood, x-rays, ultrasounds, this, that. Before I know it, 5, 6, 7 hours had passed. Finally, now I got quite a bit of family there. My wife was there, my mother, my father, my aunt, my sister, all of them. And finally, the doctor comes over and he said he had a diagnosis, so to speak. And he was like, he had explained that my heart was 5 times the normal size. Um, and they couldn't figure out why. So they were asking questions like, was I sick? Was I this? Was I that? And I was like, I didn't feel like it. Um, so they were a little concerned, a little more poking and prodding, and they decided to admit me, and they kept me for a few days. Actually, I believe it was a Friday that I went, so they kept me over the weekend.
So let me ask you that question real quick, as you're flowing. This happened again in 2009.
Yeah, January.
How old were you at that time?
Me, I was 24.
So we're talking about 24 years of age. You never felt any of these symptoms that until that night. You felt like you were just a little off. You get there and your beats are 180 beats per minute, if I said that correctly.
Yeah,
And but yet you still don't understand what's going on. 5, 6 hours go by. You're wondering, why am I still here? And then you finally get admitted, correct?
absolutely.
Where is your mindset though at that moment? While during that 5 or 6 hours, are you like, what are you thinking? What, if you can recall, what exactly is going on in your mind, or your wife's mind for that matter?
Um, to be honest, my wife, she looked a little nervous. Me, I don't. I've never been big on emotion until recently. So at that point in my life, there was no, I was young, no fear. It was like, oh, it is what it is.
So it was a different Clinton. It was a younger Clinton.
Yeah.
We'll get to the emotional part later. But okay,
Yeah,
so there you are. So I just wanted to paint a picture. You're early 20s. This is
yeah,
something very interesting, very rare, and now you're formally admitted. Go ahead.
yeah. So now, as you said, I'm formally admitted. So I spend the weekend in the hospital, and now they actually know what the diagnosis is. So the doctors diagnosed me with dilated cardiomyopathy. Um, it's where the heart muscle thickens and it has a hard time pumping. So now, as I said, they were trying to figure out how I got it, what caused it. There was no, as I said, there was no signs because I hadn't been sick in the days prior, or even at that point, I wasn't sick. Um, so they basically the doctor had chalked it up as a virus came. I caught a virus. It attacked my heart and was gone before I even knew what had happened. Before I could even think. Um, so with that, the doctor said, we're going to put you on some medications. He called them, if I can recall correctly, he called them miracle meds. It was a bunch of different medications that he put together, and he said that within a few months' time, one of two things would happen. Either they would work and I would get better, and the heart would go down, the swelling would go down, and everything would be back to normal, or they wouldn't work, and which is at which point he used words like transplant. And I looked at him and he was like, it's not in the future. He's like, but I'd rather use words like this just to get you comfortable with hearing them, just in case someday down the road, maybe it has to be a thing. He said, but as of now, I don't think so. It doesn't look that way and stuff like that. So I said, okay, send me home. I was happy to be home with my wife and my son because my son was only 6, 7 months old. Um, so being away from him was hard every minute. So I went home on these meds, and it was a short period of time, just as he mentioned, a few months. And over that few months, I would undergo several tests, constant tests, EKGs, echocardiograms, multiple labs, stuff like that, minimal stress tests. And over that time, everything seemed to be okay.
Were you back at work?
Actually, no. They had taken me out of work for a little bit because they wanted to keep an eye on and see what was going on, so to speak. Uh, okay. So as I said, I'm taking these meds. I'm going for all these appointments and stuff like that, and no change. I feel great. I'm living life. I'm active with my son, my wife. Um, so a day comes, April 26th. Now, April 26th is my birthday. So we spent the day. We had family over, friends, barbecuing. It was a great day, good time, lots of love, just a beautiful day. Uh, the evening approaches. We do cake after dinner and stuff like that. Now everybody's getting ready to go home. It's getting late. We're winding down. It was my wife, my son, myself, and my wife's aunt had decided to spend the evening. I was standing there and I looked at my wife and I started to have pain in my chest, like a tightness. And I said to her, I said, babe, I think I need to go to the hospital. And she tried to tell me, oh, just go take a shower, relax. I think you overexerted yourself. Maybe you just need to cool down. And I said, no, I think something's wrong. It was at that point her aunt looked at her and said, he doesn't like hospitals. He doesn't like doctors. If he's telling you he thinks he needs to be at the hospital with those doctors, maybe you guys should go. And the wife was like, okay, let's do it. So we loaded up into the car, me and my wife, and we drove to Horton Hospital in Middletown, New York. We lived in Bloomingburg at the time. I get to Horton Hospital. It's probably 9:30 at night. I go into the ER, speak to the triage nurse. I let her know I had heart issues. I was having some pain in my chest. She asked me to take a seat in the waiting area, and she would get right to me. I did. A few minutes goes by, 5, maybe 10 minutes, nothing. So I get up and I go to the desk, and I explain to her, I said, I'm having a little pain in my chest. I do have heart issues. I'm still sitting over there. You told me you would get to me in a few minutes. She says, yeah. I just need a few more minutes. Just take a seat. I'll get to you as soon as I can. So I do. Another 15 or 20 minutes goes by, and my wife's older sister at the time worked in one of the nursing units in Horton. She came as a nurse. She came down off her floor and went to this triage nurse and advised her that she needed to get me into the back ASAP because I had heart issues and was experiencing pain. At which point, the triage nurse then again said she would get to me as soon as possible, and I waited another 10 minutes. At that point, I looked at the wife and I was like, let's get out of here. I walked up to the desk, and with all respect, no disrespect at all, I said to her, if something happens to me, you're going to put my son through college. And we walked out. At which point, we drove to Arden Hill in Goshen, and as soon as I walked into the ER there, told the triage nurse I was having pain, I was in the back on a stretcher before I could blink.
I think I got to stop real quick because I got to ask you the $1 million question. Was it even busy at the first hospital? Was it packed?
No, it wasn't. If I can recall correctly, I want to say there was maybe two other people in the waiting area.
Because I mean, listen, I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, right? But I work in a hospital, and from what I understand, there are certain things that trigger, okay, chest pains, we got to get them in the back, or at least an EKG, get him something to know, he's not in danger. Wow.
Absolutely.
What, and then on top of that, the last thing you want to do is get angry. Because if you get angry, the heart rate's going to go, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So where are you, like, in those, because you said 15, you're talking about almost 40 minutes, rough estimate, right? Of waiting.
Yeah,
where is your mindset? Not even there, driving from that hospital to the next. Like, where is your mindset? Like, what I know I'd be like, I can't believe that just happened to me.
So that's kind of how I felt. I was, couldn't understand where her mind went, was that she would just blow me off like that, so to speak. I mean, because that's how I felt. I felt like I was just pushed to the side, like, oh, I'll get to him when I get to him. There's nothing seriously wrong there. But I was concerned. I was like, hopefully I make it to this next hospital, because I have a son at home, a newborn son. I don't want this to be the end. So there was some frustration there. Again, I was raised to be very respectful to my elders, and I could tell that she was older than I, so I couldn't be disrespectful to her in any manner. Even if I wanted to, my body just wouldn't let me. So I drove to the other hospital with nothing but frustration, and when I got there and they took care of me the way it was needed, I felt a lot of relief and was able to take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm where I need to be, and I'm going to get the help that I need to get.
And this is the hospital in Goshen.
Yes, this is Arden Hill in Goshen. Yes.
And that's where we're going to leave everybody right now. This is the story of Clinton. And this is something that you really need to listen to. We're leaving you there because we wanted to get you an idea of where we start with this journey. I know you're kicking and screaming right now saying, how can he stop him right when he's about to tell us what was going on? But let's be honest. It is a podcast and we want your attention. And I'm being very blunt and honest. Why are we doing that? Because we want everyone to listen to the last episode when he first came on. We want you to join us for next week as he describes exactly what happens next. And we're not going to even pull punches. When we start the next episode, we're starting right from there. We hope you will enjoy it. Join us next week where we continue on, when we call this next episode, The Unexpected Turn. On behalf of all of us here at Have Faith, Let It Begin and Endless Hope, Inc., we say the following: fueling hope, one life at a time. Follow your dreams and always remember what your heart tells you. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Have Faith family. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. Visit our website, havefaithletitbegin.com. We would love to hear your feedback.